Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yesterday, after recording my vlog, when the vlog went on, so I got questions from a few brothers, and they asked me few questions, and then say that can we make wudu from a pond from where the dog has consumed water, like drank the water, or the dog put his mouth inside the water, or dog, swim in that water. So according to the Fiqh Hanafi, if the pond is big enough, like I was giving you example of 10 by 10 pond, and where then if the dog is drinking water from one side of the pond and you are consuming water from the other side of the pond, so there is no harm in it, and water will not be contaminated, water will stay pure. But according to Fiqh Shafi'i, if dog drinks water from a pond, the water becomes impure. Maliki and Hanbali, there are the little difference of the opinion, but they say that if the property of the water does not change, we can still consume that water. And there's a hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that hadith in Sahih and Muslim, where Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that whenever a dog put his mouth in a pot, so what we have to do, we have to wash it 7 times and 1 time with a clay. So just to clean it and purify that pot where the dog has put its mouth. It means it's not I suppose if it's a big pond, so we need not to purify that pond. So this hadith also tells us the saliva of dog is impure, but if the pond is big enough, there's no harm in it. And then the question further, went on, and they said, suppose if the cheetah, lion, or some other animals, they drink water from the same pond, with the water would still stay pure or impure. So the same ruling would apply which we had in the matter of dog. So the water would stay pure if the pond is big enough. And what about some other animals like a mule or donkey? Because we do not consume them as a halal animals, but their saliva is also, we do not consider their saliva as impure as compared to dog. So again, according to the Fiqh Hanafi, that if these animals, they are drinking water from a pond, and where the properties of the waters do not change because of their drinking, so they will, it is fine. So suppose, and then they say that what about if the donkey and mule, they put their mouth in a small pot, like for the dog, you say that it must be clean. What about because the dog's saliva is impure? What about these animals? So this is kind of a little bit confusing matter, because their saliva is not impure. So suppose if you do not feel karaha, that's fine. Otherwise, we should avoid using that water if dog and animals put their mouth in one of the bucket, and we use the same bucket for our tahara. So now again, that they said what should be the depth of pond. So the depth of the pond, suppose if you can't see the bottom of the pond, it does not matter, it's a 1 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet, but as long as it's 10 by 10 feet. Because I have seen in so many masajids in Karachi and Hyderabad that the depth of that pond is not deep enough, hardly 2-3 feet, but the width is more than 10 by 10, and people, they use that pond or that talab or hauz to make their wudu. So that's what it is. And then yes, and the other questions were similar to the question which I already addressed. So we should make dua to Allah. But again, that we should also use some time, like if we see the water, if we are traveling and we see a big pond, but some of the pond you would see they do not collect water, and they collect water, but it becomes stale after some time. The property of the water is changed, so we should not consume that water for tahara. And now sometime it happens, the water becomes like what we call it gadla in Urdu. I don't know what's the exact word in English. Like the dirt is mixed with water, when it's flowing. So they say the color is changed. So no, the color of the water is not changed, because the dirt is with the water. Because if you see a river Indus or river Neelam, which comes from the glacier. It's very clean, very pure. You could see even so many feet down. But when it comes to Jhelum, Marchanav, and all these things where the ground and the land is of dirt, so the water becomes like the same color is just like a dirt. But if you take that water and put in one pond, after a few minutes, you will see that the dirt is settled down in the bottom, and that there is a pure and clean water without any odor, without any color, without changing of its properties. So that water, suppose if we see a lot of people on a countryside, they collect water in big pond, the rainwater, and then water is just most of the time it stays kind of not dirty, but kind of with a dirt color. It's not dirty in terms of dirty, but just like this. Suppose if you do not put your hand, or if animal does not drink it, if you do not stir the water, the dirt slowly slows down and the clean water is on the top. So these type of waters are pure. So we should use our judgment and just make sure that there is no bad odor is coming. And if we see some animal is just in the same pond, dead animal is there, and still water is not color has not changed, and the odor is not changed, the property of the water is not changed, because the pond is so big. But still, in order to avoid any kind of karaha kind of thing, so we better and we must remove that animal from that pond. So because eventually what would happen, that even if it's a big pond, if animal is sitting over there, the pond is a pond, it's not an ocean. So eventually it will affect the property of the water. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to stay pure, and also give us tawfiq to purify our iman, purify our soul, purify our body, and also purify our intention and our amal. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.